Brown v. Board of Education, a landmark Supreme Court case decided in 1954, stands as a monumental moment in American history. This case declared racial segregation in public schools unconstitutional, reshaping the nation's approach to civil rights. By ruling that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal, the Supreme Court affirmed equal access to education. The significance of this case extends beyond education. It ignited the civil rights movement. To appreciate Brown v. Board of Education, understand the historical context. Post-Civil War, the U.S. struggled with integrating formerly enslaved people. Jim Crow laws mandated racial segregation in public facilities. Plessy v. Ferguson upheld the separate but equal doctrine. Facilities for African Americans were far from equal. The NAACP, led by Thurgood Marshall, challenged school segregation. These efforts culminated in Brown v. Board of Education. In 1896, the Supreme Court issued its infamous ruling in Plessy v. Ferguson. Homer Plessy challenged segregation laws. He argued it violated the 14th Amendment. The court disagreed, upholding the law. They introduced separate but equal. This had devastating consequences for African Americans. It provided legal cover for Jim Crow laws. The fight against segregation did not end with Plessy v. Ferguson. African Americans and their allies challenged segregation in various arenas. These early legal battles laid the groundwork for Brown v. Board of Education. They exposed the inherent inequality of separate but equal. In 1936, Murray v. Pearson targeted the segregated law school. Donald Gaines Murray, denied admission due to race, filed a lawsuit. The Maryland Court of Appeals ruled in favor of Murray. In 1950, Sweat v. Painter reached the Supreme Court. Heman Sweat was denied admission due to race. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of Sweat. These cases set the stage for Brown v. Board of Education. The NAACP, founded in 1909, played a pivotal role in dismantling segregation. In 1940, they established the Legal Defense and Educational Fund. Led by Thurgood Marshall, they targeted education. Their efforts led to the landmark victory in Brown v. Board of Education. The Brown v. Board of Education case consolidated 5 cases challenging segregated schools. These cases converged at the Supreme Court against educational segregation. Oliver Brown joined a lawsuit after his daughter Linda was denied admission to an all-white school. In the heartland of America, a family struggle for justice ignited a revolution. Oliver Brown, a World War II veteran, and his wife Leola became heroes in the fight for racial equality. Their daughter Linda was at the center of this battle. Denied admission to Sumner Elementary, she had to travel to a segregated school. The NAACP takes center stage. Led by Thurgood Marshall, they fought segregation in Brown v. Board of Education. They chipped away at separate but equal. Brown v. Board was a watershed moment. A battle for the soul of America. Brown v. Board of Education unfolded in the Supreme Court. Thurgood Marshall's NAACP team argued against segregated schools. They presented evidence of psychological harm to black children. The justices asked probing questions, aware of the case's impact. The nation watched as the justices deliberated. Section 4, A Nation on Hold, anticipating the court's decision. As the Supreme Court deliberated, tension gripped the nation. The case highlighted deep divisions and anxieties about race and equality. African American communities hoped for justice but feared disappointment. Newspapers and radio broadcasts analyzed the case and speculated on the outcome. The nation was at a crossroads between the status quo and potential racial equality. Americans debated the case passionately in various settings. The decision was deeply personal, touching on core values of fairness and citizenship. The wait was agonizing, with the nation aware of the decision's profound implications. The outcome would test America's commitment to equality and justice. May 17, 1954, history was about to change. The Supreme Court declared racial segregation in public schools unconstitutional. The unanimous verdict sent shockwaves through the nation. Chief Justice Earl Warren stated that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. The decision was a powerful message of equality and justice. Chief Justice Earl Warren understood the gravity of the Brown v. Board of Education case. He aimed for a unanimous decision. Warren persuaded fellow justices to condemn segregation. The opinion needed to resonate with the nation's conscience. The Supreme Court's decision in Brown v. Board of Education ignited reactions across the U.S. African Americans met the ruling with jubilation. However, the fight was far from over. The nation was deeply divided along racial lines. Massive resistance, defiance in the face of change. The Brown v. Board of Education decision faced fierce resistance. Resistance took forms from legal challenges to violence. White citizens' councils spread racist propaganda. Achieving true equality remained a significant challenge. The eyes of the world on Little Rock, a turning point. In 1957, desegregation climaxed in Little Rock, Arkansas. The Little Rock Nine sought to enroll at Central High. They faced a jeering mob and the National Guard. President Eisenhower sent federal troops. The arrival of troops marked a turning point. Their courage galvanized the civil rights movement. The long road to integration, progress, and setbacks. The fight to implement desegregation was long and arduous. The Brown decision did not erase decades of segregation. Years of legal battles and protests were needed to dismantle Jim Crow. The civil rights movement gained momentum, demanding equality. Nonviolent resistance often met with brutal violence. Progress was slow and uneven, with southern states resisting. Additional Supreme Court rulings were needed to mandate desegregation. The fight for educational equality continues today. The legacy of segregation persists, reflected in achievement gaps and ongoing struggles for equal opportunities. A catalyst for change. The civil rights movement and beyond. Brown v. Board of Education ignited the civil rights movement. It struck down segregation in education. The ruling emboldened activists to demand equal rights. The movement gained momentum, challenging segregation. Confronting de facto segregation and educational inequity. Brown v. Board outlawed de jure segregation but not de facto segregation, which persists today. Driven by socioeconomic factors, de facto segregation perpetuates racial disparities in education. Marginalized students often attend underfunded, overcrowded schools. Addressing this requires tackling root causes and investing in diverse communities. Reforming school funding ensures all schools have necessary resources. Implementing culturally responsive teaching practices is essential. A just education system requires dismantling structural barriers to equality. Section 3, Brown v. Board of Education, a legacy of hope and a call to action. Brown v. Board of Education stands as a testament to the power of the law to advance social justice. It reminds us that change is possible, even in the face of deeply entrenched systems of oppression. The courage of the Brown family, the strategic brilliance of the NAACP legal team, and the unwavering commitment of countless activists paved the way for a more just society. However, the legacy of Brown v. Board of Education is not merely about celebrating past victories. It is about recognizing the ongoing struggle for racial equality and the work that remains to be done. The fight for educational equity is far from over. We must continue to challenge policies and practices that perpetuate segregation and inequality, advocating for policies that ensure that all students, regardless of their race or socioeconomic background, have access to a quality education. Each generation has a responsibility to uphold the promise of Brown v. Board of Education. We must educate ourselves and future generations about the history of segregation and the ongoing struggle for racial justice. We must engage in open and honest dialogues about race and racism, challenging our own biases and working to dismantle systemic barriers that perpetuate inequality. And we must support organizations and initiatives that are working to create a more just and equitable society for all. The legacy of Brown v. Board of Education is a legacy of hope and a call to action. It is a reminder that we all have a role to play in creating a world where all children have the opportunity to reach their full potential. By honoring the past, confronting the present, and fighting for a more just future, we can ensure that the promise of Brown v. Board of Education becomes a reality for all. The unending march toward equality. The journey towards equality in America has been long and arduous. Brown v. Board of Education stands as a towering achievement, yet the fight for equality is far from over. The pursuit of a more just society requires constant vigilance. The Brown decision dismantled segregation but did not eradicate systemic inequalities. The fight for equal opportunities continues in education, economic justice, healthcare, and criminal justice reform. The dream of a nation where all are treated with dignity remains elusive. The legacy of Brown v. Board of Education provides hope. The courage of the Brown family and the NAACP legal team inspires us. The pursuit of equality is an ongoing journey. Each generation must carry the torch of justice forward. Brown's legacy, a call to action for generations. The legacy of Brown v. Board of Education is a call to action. Disparities in funding and access persist. Providing quality education remains urgent. Education empowers a just society. It fosters empathy and social justice. Dismantle remnants of segregation. This call extends beyond classrooms. Address systemic inequalities. Confront biases for inclusion. Continue the fight for equality. The struggle is far from over. Honor those who fought for justice. The journey requires vigilance. Let Brown's legacy inspire future generations.